You think aspirin is just a boring pill in your medicine cabinet? Think again. It's 1932. You have exactly 9 cents in your pocket. It's your last money for food, but your head is splitting from starvation and stress. If you buy bread, you'll stay hungry, but you'll be able to work through the agony. If you buy the aspirin, you stop the pain, but your stomach will keep screaming for food. What would you choose? This wasn't a medical dilemma. It was a survival calculation for millions. People didn't take it to get better. They took it to trick their own bodies into functioning for one more shift. But the nightmare doesn't stop with your family. Across the country, thousands of factories were running solely on this chemical crutch. This wasn't a temporary trend. It was a silent, industrialized reliance on a 9-cent tablet that kept the entire broken economy from collapsing. You think you know what it means to be broke? You have no idea what it costs to just stay alive. But here is where everything you think you know about this era breaks. We imagine the 1930s as a time of pure chaos, where people just scavenged for scraps to survive. That is a lie. The system didn't just collapse. It reconfigured into a terrifying, rigid hierarchy of efficiency. Every single penny was tracked, measured, and calculated against your physical output. This wasn't just poverty. It was total human optimization. The aspirin wasn't an act of mercy for the workers. It was a strategic asset for the corporations. If you stopped working because of a fever or headache, you were replaced in minutes by a line of 10 hungry men. So, taking that pill became an unwritten rule, a mandatory duty to your family to stay online. You weren't a person anymore. You were a machine that required maintenance. And the terrifying part? The industry designed it exactly that way. But here is the trap. The machine had a limit. You can push a human to work through pain for a week, maybe a month. But you cannot replace the biological reality of starvation with a 9-cent chemical shortcut forever. By 1933, the efficiency model started to cannibalize itself. We see these reports from the era, not of lazy workers, but of engineers discovering impossible failure rates. Machinery wasn't breaking. The humans operating them were simply fainting at their stations. Yet the production quotas stayed the same. It wasn't a glitch. It was a fundamental misunderstanding of the human engine. The industry looked at a man and saw a clock that never needed to wind down. They treated the exhaustion of the entire nation as just a temporary maintenance issue. They thought they were building a perfect system, but they were actually building a house of cards that was destined to collapse. So, what is the legacy of this total optimization? We often look at the 1930s as a closed chapter, a dark, gritty history book that we've safely put away. But look closely at our world today. The same metrics that were used to squeeze productivity out of exhausted factory workers are now embedded in the algorithms managing our digital lives. We are still living in the shadow of that failed system. We've just replaced the mechanical gears with data points and the factory floor with a screen. The aspirin cure, the idea that you can mask a fundamental systemic flaw with a temporary fix, is still the core strategy of many modern corporations. The real tragedy isn't that they failed back then. It's that we never truly abandoned their methods. We just learned how to hide the exhaustion behind a cleaner interface. So, what do we do when we realize we're caught in this loop? The first step out of the factory is noticing the machinery. We need to stop treating our own exhaustion as a temporary maintenance issue and start questioning the quotas of our lives. True efficiency isn't about how much we can endure. It's about how much we are willing to sacrifice for a system that doesn't care if we break. You have the power to define your own output. You don't need a corporate algorithm to tell you what productive looks like. Break the cycle, step back, and finally, look at the screen not as your master, but as a tool. The Great Depression ended, the factories closed, but the lesson remains. Your humanity is not a resource to be optimized. It's the only asset that truly matters. Stop taking the aspirin. Start changing the machine.